Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Virtual Canon Burbank. My name is Charles Zablan, and I'm the senior trainer here at Canon. Today, we have a very special guest, hailing all the way across the world in Denmark, is the founder and CEO of Skårhøj Technologies, and is Kasper Skårhøj. Thank you so much for being here, Kasper.
Thank you so much, Charles. I'm really excited about being on your show. So
we are so thrilled that you are here and just kind of introducing everybody to your latest technologies. But also,
mhm.
I also wanted to take the time to get to know the person behind the company and how you came up with the company and what your vision is for Skårhøj.
Yes, I I'm an engineer. I'm really not the type of business person who sit down early on in his life and sketch out a plan and make a business case and all these things. So I'm the kind of guy who grow things from his own heart's desire. And being an engineer, you are very close to bringing solutions about to your problems. So Skårhøj started really as scratching my own itch. I had a problem. I had the capacity to do something about it. I got started with my soldering iron, my software skills, and I started building. And that's like about 10 years ago. This is how Skårhøj started. Just actually, I have a favorite quote by Mark Twain, which is that all you need in life to succeed is ignorance and confidence. And the reason why I think that's true is because I have never feared getting started on something. I didn't ask, do I know enough? I was just playful about it. And then I had the confidence that I would somehow manage to make it work. And that's, kind of the, something that I'm going by and that has served me very well and also makes for a very exciting life.
That is fantastic. I really, really love that quote as well. And I love that that's kind of the heart and the spirit behind it. And tell us a little bit about the very first thing that you created and why did you create it?
Um, yeah, I really needed some control hardware for making user-friendly control of video switches back at the university where I worked 10 years ago. And that made me consider some electronic designs that would make this possible. And I put together some services to do that. Later on, we had the need to control Pvc cameras and work with also shade cameras. So that gave rise to other product categories in the company. But for the first many years, it was really just getting back to electronics, which was like a childhood activity of mine. And I was discovering how much you could do nowadays with the wonderful tools that are available online, how much the world has moved since back in the 90s when I was a kid and did these things. So yeah, the early years was super experimental, a true garage company.
That must have been incredibly exciting as well. Like for, first coming up with a product, putting it out to market, having it sell, and then actually now growing a company. Um,
Yeah.
with the current um, kind of like a time that we're in, there has been an influx of people needing to use remote products. And so, how were
Mhm.
you able to pivot the company to kind of accommodate all this huge rise of influx of people wanting to create content, wanting to create like webinars that we're doing like today? How were you able to pivot the company to do that?
Ooh. First of all, I think if you look at the size of the company just a few years back, we were really only like a handful of people. And today we are, I usually say we're like 30 people spread across the world. Now we have three wonderful people sitting in Burbank, close to you. And we have most of our team located in Europe, but essentially we have a lot of people now. So I begin to feel like a super tanker, but 3 years ago, it was completely different. And much of the direction the company has taken was done in those early years. I think as our appetite grew on serving the broadcast industry with solutions for live TV production, it was very natural to look at how integrative control needs needed to be addressed. And that's also some of what I will show you tonight, how the Skårhøj range of products is very easy for people to like, because they bring together their technology. They take a Canon camera and integrates it beautifully with a video switcher that comes from another manufacturer. And that makes for user-friendly solutions, something that we definitely need in the pandemic era, where you see a lot of volunteers being thrown right into video production and content production, and they need tools and solutions that are not only looking great, like your cameras do, and the picture they create and so on, but also nicely integrated for people to succeed in the control and management of production.
A long time ago, I was actually a part of different churches in the media team, and I got to be a volunteer and then eventually going in on staff. And given that background, I know how hard it was for that learning curve to be achieved. You know, it was so hard to get over that learning curve. And your products today just allow us to be more on the operation side rather than trying to learn, you know, everything about it. It's a really fantastic thing that you guys have done.
We are striving towards it. I would also like to be a little bit humble about it, because we are on a journey. We are not entirely there yet, but it is our ambition. And if you ask about the vision for the company, it is to invent the future of live production control. So we are really that ambitious that we want to put down our mark on the future of how you do this. So that's the course we are set on. And it goes for both the most simple cases, but also for the professionals. I want to hit both target groups. It's super difficult, but some of the technologies that we have been working on during the last year and that we're about to put to market now really has the power to do both. So it's very exciting and also super demanding, really. But I want to be that place, because otherwise it's just boring.
You know, I that's really exciting to hear that, you know, coming from the founder, and I know that it trickles down to your employees. I've spoken to a few of them, and they are as excited as you are, and that's really, really important. I know that that we have a few toys that you have brought here. You know, toys and tools. Can you introduce us to a little bit about your lineup here?
Yes, and if it's okay with you, I will go through a few slides to put up some facts about the company. Yeah.
Yes, please do.
All right. So that was my name. One of the first things that gets asked is, how do you say the company name? And this might help you. Skårhøj. So there you go. If you're an American, you're struggling with this double A and a weird European name, then there you have it. Snap a photo of the screen if you feel like this is something you want to remember. But that name comes from my heritage in Denmark. It's linked to my last name. And we do design and produce our stuff in the Kingdom of Denmark in Europe. And our headquarters are in Copenhagen. We have a North American office in Burbank and a team working there. We have an international team, basically. So in Denmark, France, Austria, Turkey, USA, Poland, Ukraine, we have people all these places working on sales or development or just being a part of our HQ team, of course. And if people ask, what is it exactly you're doing? We produce hardware panels to ease the control of technology for broadcast and AV production. So that would be TV and radio, live events, houses of worship. There has been a lot in the Corona times, business corporate, also a lot during these times, sports, education, remote learning, and so on. So in all these areas, we help people succeed in their control experiences. And if you wonder why you need hardware controls nowadays, I think it's very clear when you're sitting with cameras. There's really no great experience derived from an iPad or a software application to control a PTZ camera. Or if you do just visual production, you need buttons so you can keep your eyes on the screen. And that's one of the reasons why we are succeeding in providing hardware panels for control issues. And that's very important in the line of business we're in visual content production. So if we look a little bit about on our various unique selling points that are true across our lineup, because we have like 40 products, but you need to think about them as one product in a certain sense, because each product has the same potential in what it can control. But now I say 40, it's like in that range of different models. It's really a matter of what kind of form factor is the right one for your application. So is it a small, tiny panel with only a few buttons, or is it multiple panels put together by some of our new technologies to form a large mega panel? And you're really free to build that up as you see fit. And not think too much about what we can control, as long as you find your Canon camera on that list of units that we do control. And for a long time, we have been working with Canon products like the Rcp 100 protocol, and I think it's also called Remote A, which is the plug you find in the Canon camera. We have been supporting that for quite a while. But recently, during this year, we have worked very closely with Canon to bring out support for the awesome PVC cameras you guys have, and also the new C300 series, 500 series, the cinema EOS cameras. So they have a great new protocol, and they are integrated in our products here. Our products are super flexible because it's absolutely configurable. And that will make you run away screaming because you think you need weeks and weeks of engineering time put into setting up your controller. But that's not true. And as you will see today, we have made it even more simple to just add a single camera from some brand is becoming super easy on Skårhøj controllers, but still with the classic and fundamental power that we have been representing all the time. And yeah, so this is how we are hitting both the high end and the lower end, the simple needs and the super advanced needs, that we have this powerful basis. And then we have tools and ways to manipulate it that is giving you kind of the cream of it all if you are just into it for the simple solution. But we have this configurable engine. We have something pretty cool. We call it four-way buttons, which are in a sense very simple, but it just means that every button on these panels are in fact like a little binary joystick. You can press the left and the right edges on these buttons, and then it will send you the information which edge was pushed. And sometimes you want to use that to something, like if you want to adjust the value of a parameter, you can use up and down or left and right to adjust the value up and down and left and right. And I was even thinking, Charles, when we talked about some of the exciting things we'll show people at the end of the webinar today, there are also times where you might want to control speed and position with something else than the joystick, and four-way buttons might fit right in for that. So there's all this flexibility built into our hardware and our software platform. It's IP based. So out of the box, we are you just plug it into a PoE switch, and that's becoming more and more prevalent. So it's really easy cabling and easy also to embed into the modern IP workflows we're seeing. We also do have some options, like sometimes you can have special buttons on your panels, and if you are into that. And if we then narrow down on PVC controllers, because that's the main focus of the webinar today, since we do also have a lot of products for routing and switching and so on, but PVC is a very important category for us. These would be our typical 4 PVC controllers. PVC Extreme in the high end, PVC Wiz in the low end, PVC Pro and Fly in between. We'll be looking at a PVC Fly today and PVC Extreme right here. So those would be the 4 options. And it's also interesting in relation to Canon, because you also have a controller, but this is again how are Skårhøj augmenting or fitting in with your product range. That is, it's not all the time that people need the amount of features, or they might be looking for something slightly different or scaled down, or the flexibility in the Skårhøj controllers. And this is why you see us having such a broad range of products so that we can offer those things that usually are not interesting for our partners like Canon and other manufacturers that are going into these partnerships we enjoy with you. You also find how we do this integration by having some units where we have PTZ control and switcher control on the same unit. These are examples of such products where they are mainly focused on controlling a video switcher, but there's a part of that which is already designed to do PTZ control. If we look at some of the new products, we have the blue pill, and we would pitch this as booster technology for our existing products. So it opens up basically new possibilities. So if you have a Skårhøj controller, if you are investing in a Skårhøj controller, the blue pill is likely to play a role on how you want to use it and reuse it and reapply it in different situations. So today we have a blue pill here on the webinar, which is actually this little guy is running the show in a sense, what you'll see later. So we'll get back to this and you'll see the interface, how it works and so on. One of the things that Blue Pill does is that it works as a little bit of like a server in a sense that can now bring Skårhøj panels together in a way you have never seen before. So modularity, reimagined, that's like our tagline for it. And it means that previously you were pretty bound to looking at a PTZ Extreme as a single controller. And you had to look at a PTZ Fly as a single controller. And on the frame shot as a single controller, but the blue pill can bring it together into a single controller, two panels in a single controller in a sense, by how the two panels are being perceived by the system. And when you then map a configuration onto them, they'll just play together perfectly. We'll see that in a moment as well. So this whole modularity way of thinking is really a part of this. Yes.
That is quite exciting, especially for people that are starting off on a smaller scale, but then finding themselves needing the growth for their company, for their business, for their house of worship. Having that modularity is extremely crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We also want to prove that when you, that's the reason why I use the word invest, because I truly believe when people, they buy into our ecosystem, they will have a good reason to stay and invest to build it out. So they have that flexibility, they can adapt to situations. And that's no matter if you're a church or if you're a rental house, you'll find that what you purchased yesterday works perfectly well with what you purchase tomorrow because of this integrated technology we are now bringing out. So I'm very proud. And even if you want to go on the really high note, this is also a way to help the world not just throw away and buy new all the time, but think about the products that you purchase in a more sustainable sense. I won't say that's the only reason, because it can also, it's also a large claim, but at least we are trying to make something that also makes sense in this more sustainability line of thought. Yeah.
That right there is pretty amazing. You know, not a lot of technology companies think in that sense, and I really love that.
Thank you. At the end of the day, we also need to make money. So I still want people to buy my hardware. So yeah, but that will happen, I'm sure, because with the value propositions that we put out, it will be very attractive, I'm pretty sure. So that's okay.
Yeah.
Other new products we have, the Rcp Pro, and actually, Charles, the Rcp Pro, while it doesn't look like something you would use with a PTZ camera, we got to say that these cameras you have, they are really high end and they are worthy of an Rcp. So on broadcast productions where you have someone sitting with the main concern being control of the image colors, the lens, they might want to have a true Rcp experience with the PTZ camera, and then let the PTZ operator be concerned with the pan, tilt, and zoom positions. And you can make that separation. Once again, because we have this form factor of control surface, the Rcp, separate from the PTZ controller, and they can perfectly control the same camera. So separating those concerns are also becoming really easy with our lineup of products.
That's
And
really
this is a new one,
exciting.
by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having that
It has this
control
super
over,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
No, having that control on the CRN 300 and CRN 500, a lot of people don't do that. But now that we have this close integration between our products, that's really exciting. That gives new possibilities for operators in the control booth for their cameras. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Also, I think the Rcp Pro here is worth a mention. As you can see on the slide, it's the Canon Xc Protocol, which is in place for not only the CR-N 300 and 500 cameras, but also the C300 and C500 Mark III and Mark II, respectively. Those cameras have the same protocol. With small adaptations, they have a profile, and we'll see that tonight because we have a C300 camera on our network. So it's actually controlled from the Pvc controller, and obviously the joystick won't do any good, but all the settings the camera has are available on the PTZ Extreme. And if I had an Rcp next to me, that Rcp would control that camera. So there you also see how I'm pretty sure there will be people invested into Canon cameras and wanting to combine a C300 camera with some of your PTZ cameras. So the freedom to consider that without seeing limitations in your control situation is also very important.
Broadcast has been undergoing a big change as of late. Cinema cameras would not be used on a broadcast platform in the past, just because of the larger sensor. It's a lot harder to focus. But these days, people are craving that kind of cinematic quality to it. And you see that in America's Got Talent, for instance. They've incorporated a lot of cinema cameras into that broadcast so that you have this kind of different look that you would not get that and was not possible.
Exactly.
But with Canon's lineup
very
or controllers, it allows us to seamlessly integrate all these products together.
Absolutely. We see that all the time. And obviously your C300 and 500 camera, which is also integrated in this way, are very good examples of it. I also want to mention that lens control in these cases are sometimes an issue. I know that Canon has really great lenses, but sometimes people have lenses from other manufacturers. And if there's no way to connect the lens to the camera, Skårhøj also has that glue technology that will make it a single unit. I think that's also very important because, again, for the Rcp operator, he wants to have seamless control of the lens, but also sensor parameters in the camera. He shouldn't have to go somewhere else to do that. And that's what he gets on an Rcp. So integrating those things is also a part of our mission to make that easy. And we have great products and ways to handle that challenge coming up to enable that, to enable cinema style cameras to fit into broadcast workflows. On this slide, we have a few names on our awesome US team, Grant and Tyler. So if you want to get in touch with our US based team, then you'll find it there. Otherwise, I think we are really ready to look at the products. If you are.
Absolutely. This is exciting though. Let's show our audience what we've got going here.
Okay. So the first one that we want to take a look at is the PTZ Extreme, our top of the line controller. And let me see, we just want to make sure that you can all see it clearly. So I believe we have a zoomed in view here. On any Skårhøj controller, you find a lot of the same things happening again. And the signature feature is that we just can't hold ourselves back from putting displays all over the place. We are probably the world experts in having small individual tiles of information associated with your buttons and knobs here. So PTZ Extreme is definitely no different. And you can see how the camera selector I have here on the lower row has labels for my cameras. It says CR-N 500, 300, and here, and it tells me that it's in the studio. And I have another two 500 and 300 camera in my showroom. And then I have an EOS C300 also in the showroom. So those labels are helping me very much to identify my cameras. I can do the same on presets. Right now, we just have presets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but these are presets recall. And then up here, we usually have some navigational keys. The first 6 buttons here are reserved for that. Then we have some direct access to one-shot execute white balance on bank A and bank B. We have a shift key that we can use to access additional features and also access to a system menu here, which is now activated. So usually my navigation will give me access to features on these 8 encoder knobs. And very signature for Skårhøj is how when we integrate with Canon's cameras, we are not just looking for the lowest common denominators in those cameras. We are going at it on every level. All the parameters in these cameras are integrated in our software because we want to make sure that when you get a Skårhøj controller, you can expect it to know your equipment very well so that you have as close as we can get to a native experience. So we get the protocol, we work hard to respect and support all the features that make a Canon camera. And it ends up on these buttons and knobs. So if we go through these menus, you can see on the home screen, which is where you should have the most important stuff laid out, we have decided to give you access to white balance, red and blue gain, shooting mode here, and gain, iris, and manual focus speed. Sounds a little weird though, and focus position. So these are our selection of the typical, anytime I want to operate my camera, these are the most important things for me to have access to. But if I go to the next level, we find exposure, giving me access to exposure mode, to iris, gain mode, gain settings here, shutter speed, and so on this one. We can go to the color settings. There we have white balance again, and it was also on the home screen, but that's on purpose because now we are dealing with even more things like having selector for the actual Kelvin degrees here. Sometimes we also have access to things if we hold down the shift key because a camera like CR-N 500 definitely have more features around white balance than we can just put onto 8 separate encoders. So to give access to that secondary level of things that are often in place, then we also employ such a shift key here. If we go to details, we'll see sharpness related settings, black gamma settings is here, noise reduction, and we have a whole page of matrix settings. I don't think it has anything on shift. No, it doesn't. But we have matrix phase, matrix gain, red, green, red, blue, and all these settings laid out on these buttons. And then finally a whole menu for focus. So that's how the PTZ Extreme has been laid out. And in fact, the same pattern is found on our Rcp and on many of the other controllers. So you will even find that if you're mixing a 500 and a CR-N 300 camera, and even if you have cameras from other manufacturers, there's a certain pattern that repeats itself that will give you a similar experience, and some expectancy will be, you'll be able to expect the same way it operates, although each of these configurations are very model specific to enable those features that are unique for them. So that was like a general idea about how this one is laid out. Then we have a joystick, Hall effect joystick, zoom rocker, custom made from Skårhøj, roller wheel for focus, and iris adjustment here. And I think all that is missing now is that I actually start pulling some handles and show you guys that it works.
Let's go for it.
All right, so let's try that. We actually, by the way, if you want to go to the home screen, you can usually push the button on the joystick and it just jumps right there, so you have quick access. But let's just go with the CR-N 500 camera here. You can see it's in our studio, and now I'm just moving the joystick here. I am the kind of guy who tend to prefer using the joystick for zoom, and the thing is that on my PTZ Extreme, I do have the option of using the zoom rocker over here. So if I went with that instead, I could also use my left hand to zoom in on the nice Tesla Roadster here, the car of my dreams. Come on, Elon, make it happen, okay? How long am I going to wait? Every time I visited Los Angeles, I usually drive a Tesla car. I love driving Los Angeles in Tesla cars. That's just very relaxing. go away, Corona. I wanna travel again. All right, so basically, yeah, you have the benefit of the zoom rocker, you have the joystick, depending on what you prefer. And by the way, Canon's cameras are awesome in this regard. I want to show you something, and this is not my fault, but if I go really close on this shot, it seems like we are on manual focus. Let's do something about that. Of course, we have one push focus up here. So if I push this button, we'll see that instantly the picture is focusing when I push the button up here in the corner. So, but once again, it's just a configuration that we have mapped it onto that button, but this is usually where you'll find it. And so what I wanted to show is that Canon's cameras are really smart, because when I move the joystick, I'm zoomed all the way in, it's actually ramping up really slowly. And that's so crucial. If you do houses of worship production, for instance, you really want to make sure that a long shot is also handled gracefully with your camera. And then, of course, if I have a very wide shot, I still have some, level of detail in my movement with the camera. So well done, Canon, on that one. That's a quality mark of what you've been doing here. So, and of course, now we were talking about focus. I can also adjust focus here on my focus wheel. So you'll see that I'm bringing it out of focus now, but I can also bring it into focus again by turning the wheel. And that's nicely located, so you can use your thumb to focus your image, to pull that focus on the image. We also have a CR-N 300 camera. As I am pressing these buttons, by the way, I am not only changing to a different camera, you also see the picture is changing on the screen. And I'll just do it once again. So now I pick this camera and you see the picture is changing. So for the operator, he has a monitor. And once again, this is a Skårhøj thing, that it's integration behind the scenes that you may not think about. But this is actually talking to a video router. It is routing the sources of these cameras to the screen in front of me and ultimately on the stream we are watching right now. So more than just talking to cameras, we're also talking to video routers. And in fact, my engineers, they have, there are many video routers involved, because we also need to bring in a feed from our showroom. So that's pretty crazy. CR-N 300, so same story. It's a really wonderful camera, having many of the same good quality features on it that we can control from the Pvc Extreme. If we look through the menu, we'll find much of the same stuff laid out in the same ways. But since these cameras are also different in certain aspects, and to be honest, I am not super sharp on exactly where they are different in terms of the features that we have access to. I think they have pretty much the same set of parameters available for us. Then we see much of the same on these cameras up here. I think it's different on the ESC 300, but changing between these two cameras are done easily right here. Okay. Any questions, Charles?
Yes, we do. We have 3 questions in the chat right now.
Let's try.
More? Yeah, so the first one is from David Lindman. And can you tell us more about what the blue pill reactor is? So could you explain to us, like, you have the blue pill demo right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so could you tell us a little bit more about how it's integrating all these products?
Yes, I would love to. And I will also show it a little bit later. But
okay.
Thanks for asking. What I can tell you is that the PTZ Extreme is managed by the blue pill. So it's talking to the blue pill. The controllers over here, we'll look at in a moment, are talking to the blue pill. And this one is also talking to the blue pill. The blue pill is talking to those 2 cameras and another 2 cameras and another camera and a 6th camera that we are coming to. So this is the brain of tonight. This is the brain. It's in a sense, it's unusual that because I actually have 3 parallel controls running here. Now we have the CR-N 500 camera, so I can adjust it on this joystick, I can adjust it on this joystick, and on this joystick, because they are all talking into the blue pill, and the blue pill is just having a single connection to one of these cameras. So blue pill is also solving a lot of issues. I'm not saying that Canon's cameras couldn't keep connection up with many controllers if need be. It probably could, but I know devices in the world, in the broadcast world, that cannot keep connection to multiple masters. And with Blue Pill, you basically get an entry through which you can talk to your devices with a single connection, but have many masters talking to them. So it's also enabling technology in that way. There are really so many ways you can look at it. But we'll look at that much more. Are there other questions that we should address right away?
Yes, there is. So let's see here. Is there a default Canon C300 Mark III configuration already available for the RCP V2?
Yes, there is for Blue Pill. And let me explain you why that is, because I have it right here. So actually, let's just jump into that. On my camera selector right here, we have access to a ERC 300 camera in the showroom. So picked right here. And you see it in the showroom now as well. So it won't do me any good using the joystick. We agree on that because it's not a pan tilt camera. But it will do me some good if I, for instance, push my focus one push button, because obviously it was out of focus. I can also go through the menu. And now, by the way, you see here is a difference, because C300 has a different set of parameters available. Although it's the Xc Protocol, it does not have all the same things as the PTZs has. So that's why you see some of these blanked out in the focus menu. We have focus. Actually, there seems to be only manual in this case. Might be the reason. The lens might be the reason for that. The home screen looks very much like it did for the other cameras. And in exposure mode, I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure that we had a few parameters here, which apparently is not available on our C300. It has ND filters. Does the PTZs have that too? The C300 of the 500 does. Oh yeah, that was the difference. You saw that. I'm now on the N5 300, doesn't have ND filters, but on the N500 I do have ND filters. I'm just trying to enable it right now. You can't really see it unless I zoom out. Very dark picture now, but I will change that so we go back to just having no ND filter. But if I go to C300, then I can enable ND filters right there. You saw the first level. And I now have the second level on the ND filters. And now I'll go back and I open up once again. So there you can see that. So to your question, does it already have a default configuration? Yes, it is right here on the PTZ Extreme. But the beauty is the RCP is so similar to the PTZ Extreme, if you think about it, that the same configuration structure we have here can map onto both controllers. We call it Pro Class. And Pro Class is a type of configuration in an abstract sense that we provide that will map onto your PTZ controller, and it will map onto your RCPs. So anytime we support a camera on the one, we also do on the other. Of course, they have individual features like the joystick and zoom rocker and the iris joystick for the RCP naturally. But those are also contained in the same configuration, just not mapped down on the individual controller that doesn't have that feature. So I hope that was a little bit of an answer. If you, the one who asked the question, if you have history with Skårhøj products, you know that we do provide a lot of default configurations. But one of the things that has been a struggle, because there is a lot of redundancy easily involved, is configuring and bringing different camera models together. That was not easy on the traditional lineup of products. And this is why with the Blue Pill, all those products that had this issue now has a new platform that makes it much easier to do this, to tap into configurations like that. I just need to, okay, good to know. There's a screen in my studio that just blanked out. I don't know if that's, says anything about this. Yeah, I don't see Charles, so okay. But you hear me, Charles? Then we are still on.
Can you hear me?
Perfect. I do.
Oh, interesting.
And you hear me?
Why it turned off? Yeah. Well, I hope it's not my feed. Okay.
I can easily continue without, but I just want to know that we are still online.
Yeah, we're still going. Doug asks, could you discuss controlling live stream studio software on Windows from the PTZ controller? Can it control the software source switching as well as controlling the cameras? with vMix or OBS, etc.? Can you
Was it
control OBS?
Livestream Studio, vMix, OBS?
Yeah.
Because I heard 3 different switcher products mentioned right there.
Livestream, yeah, those are the three switching softwares.
Okay.
Can you control those via the controllers?
Yes, you can. And I think the Rack Fusion Live over here would be one of the examples where you have switcher control integrated with your PTZ control. And one of the things I would highlight is that, so I think we'll just set this aside because this also gives us a chance to actually move on in the presentation of the product. So maybe we have a top view shot here of the Rack Fusion Live. And as I mentioned during my slides, this section is dedicated to switcher control. That would be OBS, vMix, Livestream Studio. And this section over here is PTZ control. In fact, it is a PTZ fly pushed into this part of the product. This section has access to all the default configurations we have made for different camera brands. This section has access to all the default configurations we have made for switcher brands, and therefore they can be combined freely. There's nothing that will hold you back from using any of the systems you mentioned along with any cameras that you want. So that has also been solved in the most beautiful way you can imagine with the Blue Pill. That was a long time standing issue with the Unisketch platform, which is the one that now can use Blue Pill to address these issues. So we are very proud about having been able to find such a great solution to this challenge of facilitating individual combinations that we know our customers are having. The only thing that I want you to know is that Livestream Studio is currently not on the list of switches supported by Blue Pill, but vMix is and OBS is also. And it's just a matter of time. To be honest, we have been developing a crazy amount of device support on this over the last quarter. So I think maybe before it gets to you, it might be there. Little over exaggerated, yeah, but should be coming up.
Awesome.
Do we have more questions in the list?
Yeah, there is. So here's an interesting one. For those that need to have remote control from a different location, can we demonstrate what we've got going here?
Yeah,
controlling
I think we can do something interesting there, but allow me now to just to highlight something else, actually coming back to the first question, because that will bring us to the fourth question as well. And what I want you to see right now is the PTZ fly along with the frame shot. So we have a top view shot here. The rolling displays you see on the video feed is of course not how I see it with my naked eye. So that's frame rate and shutter speed, synchronicity issues. But the PTZ fly has the same cameras listed over here. And notice what happens on the frame shot. These two, as mentioned earlier, are both managed and brought together by the Blue Pill right here. And so it works this way. Whenever I change to a different camera, you see thumbnails of their presets coming up. So guess what will happen if I press this button? You'll see the feed from that camera will hit this framing. And now I press this one. There's a little thumbnail of the Tesla car and the S and the K in the Skårhøj logo. So I push that button and I get that shot. That preset is visually clear to me. There's another one here where I withdraw a little bit. Here I have the drone on the table and so on. So the awesome thing about the frame shot is how it now is, it is a sidekick to your PTZ controller. And multiple things are important here. First of all, PTZ Fly is a great entry-level controller, and you don't need to buy the frame shot in the beginning. The frame shot could always be purchased later. So there you see the principle of expanding your number of Skårhøj controllers and how you can freely integrate them in new ways or use this on another day in another location and so on. And that's all due to how Blue Pill integrates these products. the thumbnails themselves are a fact, because Canon's camera actually has an API that allows us to grab that thumbnail. So the moment we store the preset, we get that. That means I can now find a framing of this camera. I just found a Skårhøj box down here on the floor. So let's see if I can get to that. Okay, so I now press and hold this key, and that will store a preset in the system. And you see on the frame shot, you get a thumbnail in color of that preset. And if you want to redo that, so now just imagine a volunteer in church, and it sounds like you have some experiences with that, Charles. Imagine you can go from having a paper list of presets for your cameras to having visual representation on a piece of hardware. It just couldn't be any easier.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you can use this whether you're a small church or a large church. That's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. We also have thought of a lot of workflow for churches, because some of our customers, they have huge Sunday morning or Saturday night services, which has a full production crew. And then they have other events at other times with a much smaller crew. And with the Blue Pill, you can essentially load profiles down on your controls or controllers. So the large crew, they have more specialized set of options available, but very easily you can just load a different profile that would work on with the same panels, the same devices, but offer a different set of features for a different set of operators, like, you know, volunteers that needs a more basic set of options to choose from. But the frame shot is a new product that Skårhøj is bringing out now, because it makes sense now. We have a really great application where these visual thumbnails for your preset recall is now finally possible. And especially the Canon cameras are an amazing product to use this with, because your cameras support this natively. We also have solutions for other types of cameras that does not support it, including, I think maybe C300 doesn't, I don't know. But that just requires a frame grabber in the mix, so you have like a third place to get the thumbnail, but it can be done. I'm just saying that these cameras are really built to do this. And as I'm changing over here, now I'm switching to the CR-N 500 camera, you also see that my thumbnails are updating. And now I go to the cameras, which are somewhere else. And by the way, where is this? As I said, this is the camera in our showroom, just outside the room here. So obviously I can also operate this. And if I want to make this my preset here, then I press and hold. It will grab the frame and show it on the on the frame shot, so I can easily recall that. And you already see right now we have some very distinct presets that I can recall on the frame shot. So by just going through these, you can see how the thumbnail that are stored is aligned perfectly with the preset that the camera is going to. So that's really nice. A very good application of how the Blue Pill is making modularity possible in a completely new way.
Martin in the chat asks, can you record a movement as a preset?
On the Blue Pill, you cannot do it yet. And then again, I'm like, yes, you can. The thing is that it's a feature which doesn't have a UI, so it is in the system. On Unisketch, our existing platform that also can talk to cameras. By the way, our controllers doesn't necessarily need a Blue Pill to talk to Canon cameras. Actually, Canon cameras, they have the Visca protocol in them as well. And the Visca protocol can be operated by the Unisketch controllers without a Blue Pill. We are just super excited about the Xc protocol because you can see how much we can do with this. And where we can take it. This is why we consider that the new and the exciting vision that we want to bring out to you guys. And now, what was the question anyway? Oh yeah, the movement. Can you record the movement in the implementation? In the Visca implementation, we have something we call PTZ trace, and it will record the speed values being sent to the camera so you can replay them. And that will give you some of that replay the movement action that I'm sure that was the intention of the question asked. We don't have that fully on Blue Pill yet, but it will come. and it will probably, yeah, I can't tell you when, but the long story short is that we have a feature in Blue Pill which is an insanely powerful preset engine. And in the most basic sense, that preset engine will just recall your preset. Some settings, give it to you, whether it's color settings or if it's position settings. But it can also record the settings on a timeline, which you can play back. And even in small segments and in randomized order and in all kinds of things. So it has so much potential for visual radio, or just having something that, you know, just doing automation for even a church service if you want to save your if for whatever reason you need that.
That would have
So I
saved
think
me
that
a
was the
lot of
best answer I
time.
could give here.
Yeah. That would have saved me a lot of time with my volunteers, you know, back in the day. When,
Mhm.
you know, just training people how to use this can be a bit of a daunting task, and they're volunteers, so they're already giving their time. So being respectful of their time and then giving them something simple to operate like that is pretty amazing.
That's a good point. So talking about cameras, we had those two cameras in here, and the ones that I was operating in the showroom, you can actually see them on the feed here. I think they'll be cut on. So the camera number 3, the one I'm moving here, is actually this white CR-N 500, which is out in our showroom. And if I change over to the CR-N 300, that's the small white one here, which I'm just controlling from next door. There you are. But now the exciting thing, Charles, you mentioned, can we do stuff on the remote? And do you have a camera in your studio?
I do, in fact. And I believe that I am wired to Copenhagen.
Right, exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a CR-N 300 US edition. It's just right in front of Charles. And I'm supposed to have the ability to control it from my network in Copenhagen. So let's try that. And that will bring us right into the engine, the interface of Reactor, which is the application running on Blue Pill. So you see it right here on the screen. And you can also see on my configuration page here. Actually, maybe we just go out here and give you a quick idea about Reactor. Reactor is the UI that manages Blue Pill, or what we have seen today on Blue Pill. So you see that there is a number of panels connected. I have my PTZ Extreme, my Rack Fusion Live, my PTZ Fly, my frame shot here. If we have a top view on the products, can we? I can show it here. We can also identify panels. Oh, now that we have it, so that's super nice. So if I press here, then I can identify. Okay, that's my frame shot. That's super fine, and then I can do the same for the PTZ Fly over here, just to make sure that I'm talking to the right panels. So just like I have panels, I also have devices that I can work with. You see that we have some ATEM switcher in the system. Then we have a number of Canon cameras set up, CR-N 500s, 300s, and the one in the US. We have a video hub as well. And then in the configuration page, I can bring this together. All right. So where I am right now with this combination of PTZ Fly and frame shot configuration, this is the configuration that brings these two together. I press the camera selector button here, and I get basically this list here. So if I want to add a 6th camera, I simply click here. I give it a name like CR-N 300 US. I have to deliver 2 numbers, though. I think the first one is my tally index. That is if this camera is a part of a switcher's tally inputs, and or however we want to talk about that. So it's not relevant for your camera. But the number 6 is the device index. I really don't know what the limit is of cameras, because so far this is the most Canon cameras we have had a chance to bring together. So definitely we can control 6 simultaneously, but we can probably also control 60, but they need IDs. So I put in an ID here, and then I pick a configuration. The configuration, there can be many, but right now we have only one. So we have a configuration to serve the Canon Xc Protocol series right here. But that could be many configurations for different purposes, simple, advanced, and so forth. And the fact that I have just added this in my list of cameras in this very simple way here means that when I go to my PVC fly, you'll see that on my camera selector, if I just press on the right edge of this button, I'm getting to a new page where I have my camera number 6, and that's the one in the US. So are you ready, Charles? We'll see if this works. We need to make sure that we have the camera on the feed. And I don't see the camera right now, so I need it on the feed. Yep, there we go. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm actually sitting here in Copenhagen, and I'm controlling the camera in Charles's studio. Isn't that wonderful? Like, how many thousand miles away am I right now? We have a latency of about 150 milliseconds thanks to the internet. So that's the data path forth and back. And depending on how quick your video can get transported over the internet is probably what determines how feasible remote control of this sort really is. But I do have some latency. That means that I need to be careful with how quickly I'm moving the camera around. But it's definitely doable. It's definitely doable. So I think this proves a very exciting point that also shows how Skårhøj products fit into the new world of remote production, where you can have devices spread across the globe. And now I want to mention the frame shot once again, because I do believe that you will have an increased utility of being preset dependent when you have cameras on such a long distance. Because of the latency, you cannot expect to follow movements very closely. So having presets and being able to have presets on multiple pages like we have on the frame shot, where you can essentially have 24, sorry, I'm not able to do the math here. We have 10 on each page. So we have 20 presets just by those 2 pages. And of course, this is not a hard limit. It's just how this configuration is. But that will give me an easy way to manage my remote PVC camera. I think that's really awesome. And the final thing that I want to show here is that even if you look at my camera selector, where I have these 5 cameras, I do now want the EOS C300 camera to move away so that my newly added PVC camera in California can get into that position. So in the interface of Reactor, I am now able to drag the CR-N 300 US camera just above the EOS C300 camera, and you'll see that it just changed its place on the camera selector on the unit. And this has never been done on a Skårhøj controller before. Previously, it was very difficult to move these things around, and now it's just like drag and drop, and it happens instantly. So that's also really exciting.
That's super exciting. I mean, just being able to do this in real time is just phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
We've got a couple of questions on the chat. We
Yep.
are nearing the top of the hour, so thank you so much for spending this time with us. Do you get more precise PTZ movement control with the Xc Protocol versus the Visca over IP?
Yeah, I would say definitely you do, because I know, since I did the initial implementation of the Xc Protocol myself, that just take the speed range of pan and tilt, they are plus and minus 10,000. So there's such a high resolution. Whether the Canon camera is honoring that resolution down to the last digit, I am not sure about that, and I don't know. But my impression is that there's virtually a step less speed involved on the Canon cameras. There's a little different range on zoom or tilt, or one of them, but it is definitely nothing that gets close to the limits that you find on Visca cameras. So Visca is heavily limited. We have 24, 25 speed steps for pan and tilt in each direction, left and right, up and down. And on zoom, it's even worse. You have like 7 steps, and that's just baked into the Visca camera. So I don't think that the Canon cameras are able to do better than Visca protocol allows them to, because of these hard-coded limits on the resolution of the speed. But on the Xc protocol, that's absolutely removed. So that's another top-notch part of how that protocol is designed. I was very pleased to see that it was handled in this way.
Thank you. Yeah. Can you communicate? And I think that you've addressed this, but can you communicate with the Canon CR cameras via Xc protocol without a blue pill?
At this point, no. the blue pill is necessary because the blue pill is a completely different processing platform, and the software we have written cannot run natively on Unisketch panels. So it is enabled by the blue pill being the mediator and the product that brings it together. So in the lineup or setup you see right here, where you have two products from Skårhøj that is essentially seamlessly integrated, the blue pill as a third device makes a lot of sense. It's natural that if you take this away and all that you want to do is to just control a camera with this, then you may ask, why do I need this? I will say it's just because this has 1,000 times more processing power than this one has, and it has the future software platform that enables it. So there's no way we can squeeze it into the limit computing power of this one. But these two together, they work so well together. And I think the blue pill is I think $600, $700 product or something like that. So it should also be affordable for most people to bring that into the mix if you think about the power that it actually offers you.
That's awesome. Are you planning to integrate SRT streaming straight from the Canon CR-N cameras? No direct plans, and I need a use case before I really engage with that question. So if you have something in mind on how SRT streaming should be relevant for our control surfaces, then I would love to get an email from you. But that would be, yeah, to specifically understand how is it that you see the SRT video stream would make sense here. The way we think about grabbing thumbnails, we don't need it. To grab a thumbnail for the preset display in the frame shot case, we have everything we need already. So that's not necessary. But shoot me an email if you have a specific shoot me an
idea in
email
mind.
as well. I guess that question was for Canon. So if you have any use case.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I apologize. Actually, it was my fault. I thought that the question was for you. But David, I'm going to be entering in my email in the chat. And please send me a use case scenario, and I'd be happy to share with Kasper as well. And then we could discuss, what your uses are for that kind of streaming. And then a question from David: will we be able to run Reactor on a laptop computer? From a laptop.
At this point in time, we don't have plans to let that be possible. To be honest with you, we use our laptops to develop Reactor, so it does run on my laptop, but the way we put it to market is through the blue pill. I do want to say one thing though. On some of our products, and currently the Rcp Pro, our new flagship Rcp with the awesome joystick, with the display on top and all those bells and whistles, we decided to put the blue pill inside the product. So in this case, it was very clear that the Rcp and the blue pill would be a couple together to such a degree that it was more meaningful for us to put the blue pill inside the product and let that be the brain of the Rcp. So the blue pill in its physical external form is the platform that will make any Skårhøj product as of today work together in this seamless way. And then you'll have a product like the Rcp Pro that has blue pill inside because it makes sense in that case. And that's currently how Reactor is available to our customer base.
Thank you. There's just a couple more questions, and thank you all so much for the questions. We are nearing.
Yeah, thanks.
We are at the top
Very
of the
good.
hour, and we thank you very much for your time. Can you have two blue pills in the network for redundancy purposes?
Yes, you can. And exactly how they are redundant with each other is something that we have not exactly written yet, because redundancy, if you specify it, you need to specify how do you want them to be redundant. If there's a fail on one of them, how does the other one take over, and so on. But it's definitely possible. And behind your question, you might be interested to know a little bit about how the blue pill works. We have a very modular system. The Reactor itself is an application that doesn't control a single device directly. What it does is that it talks to device cores, and you probably heard about device cores already, because this is how we have always been talking about our specific integrations with a specific camera. We call that a device core, the little piece of software that talks the protocol of the Xc protocol. The Canon Xc Protocol device core is actually in and of itself a little application that has a network API that Reactor talks to. So the device core for Canon Xc talks to the cameras, and then it has an internal network protocol on the blue pill that talks to Reactor. What that means is that if we want to create redundancy, we could actually have such two device cores talking to the same two cameras. Let's assume that they can handle two clients, and Reactor itself would have now two places to go for that for that control. It also means another thing, which is not relevant with these cameras, because obviously I can't sit here in Copenhagen and this blue pill is talking to Charles's CR-N 300 camera directly over the internet. We are on a VPN, by the way, so we are on a common network, but it's still across the ocean. And if we had a latency issue with the protocol, the Xc protocol, and we do sometimes see that on some more demanding protocol, which is more like a real-time protocol on switches and so on, there we could actually ship the blue pill over to Charles, and he could have that locally on his network with super low latency, talking to whatever device it would be. And then on the other side, the device core would be safely connected over TCP to Reactor at another location in the world. So this is a specialty situation, but it just means that our technology has so much potential to solve some tricky issues that are otherwise not easy to solve in this remote connectivity that we are heading into.
That is really cool. That's actually really, really cool. That's pretty fantastic there. Kasper, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I know that we've gone over the hour, but are there
no worries, my pleasure.
Yeah, any other questions in the chat that that we haven't addressed yet? I think we've pretty much addressed everything. Oh, when will Blue Pill hit the market?
I think in a few weeks. We plan to have it for IBC. So if IBC will be a thing, we'll have Blue Pill also. No matter what, we'll put out Blue Pill in December. We promised it for Q4, so we're gonna do that.
And pricing for each one of these devices.
Oh yes, I don't know that by heart really. And in US dollars, because we have like a price book in US and in Euro.
Sure. Well, what we could do is Grant's contact information was in that slide. If you could flash that slide up for those that were not able to take down their contact information, I'm sure that Grant would be able to send over some pricing information in US dollars.
All right. That's perfect. If there's one last thing that I may do, and just as a little bit of a teaser, and for those of you who decided to hang out late with us on the show here, I just want to give you a glimpse into what Reactor is also going to be. And I'm thinking mostly about the advanced users, because what I showed you so far is the easy workflow of identifying panels, finding devices like cameras, setting up a camera selector, and voila, it's just going to work very easily. We have a few other very cool things in here. We have a simulator, which is basically this page, and you can see that there's a little bit of a development feel over this, but essentially the simulator is going to be simulating your panel if possible, and we can see both the simulated panel and also the real panel. Now I'm changing here on this one, and you'll see that it's changing in the simulator. So maybe just cut to the simulator and we can see that. So I picked the camera here, and if I move around in the menu on the upper part of the controller, you can also see this is reflected in the simulator. If I want to change camera on the simulator, I can do that. So there's like perfect interaction between your Skårhøj panels and the real world panel, and that's really an impressive feature of the where. Of course, we can also do joystick control. Let's just try that. Let's go to this CR-N 500 camera I have right here. So we should be able to actually move this camera, but we are not. Why is that? Oh, but at least you can see the simulator is moving. So I'm saved by the fact that this is a better product. But I really like how my engineering team made this little visual joystick. It's really awesome. That's a beauty. So the simulator is one thing. And then some of those of you who are really interested in knowing how deep can I go in this system, in this tab of the system, we have what is called configuration. And that's really a layer-based access to all the features you have inside your cameras. So on this one, you could go to the PTZ Fly here, for instance, mark a few of these buttons, and then you can see the configuration of these buttons marked in a layer structure where you have access to these, and then you can use the inspector on the side to see the settings that you have applied. And that means that the bottom line is the type of detailed control you can achieve on your Unisketch panels, where you can go to that button and change what it does, is also available in Reactor in a just far more flexible way than you have ever been able to do it. So that's some of the things that are coming in Reactor. Some of this will be better when we launch, or even alpha, but it's already baked into the system on the most fundamental level. So that's what keeps me super excited all the time, having worked on this for so long, and really looking forward to bringing it out to you guys.
Kasper, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you and getting to know you and the company, and just this exciting technology that you've presented to all sorts of different productions.
Thank you.
And we just want to thank you for being here. And everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to do another webinar with us. I hope to see you soon, and I hope that you have a great week and happy shooting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.